Hello friends, Dale here from Three Generations. Just hope you're having a great Sunday afternoon and you're getting your nap if that's what you need and want, or if you're um, having fun outside hiking or whatever. I'm having fun inside, even though the day is very sunny. The wind is quite chilly today, but the wind is not near like it was yesterday. It was very, very, very penetrating cold because the weather was somewhat cold, maybe low 40s, but the wind was awful. Anyhow, so I wanted to talk a little bit about yesterday. So yesterday, late afternoon, I headed up to do chores, as I do most late afternoons, although sometimes I go a little earlier in the day, all depends. But it was late afternoon. I drive in and drive down along the dairy barn that we're converting to a house. Got to the end and I looked over towards the chickens, the two chicken tractors. And I saw chickens on the loose. Now, that happens occasionally. But all of a sudden I realized there's a lot of chickens on the loose. There's not just a few chickens on the loose. There's a lot, and I looked even closer and realized all the chickens are on the loose, it looked like. I couldn't tell absolutely for sure. And then I realized the chicken tractors are laying on their sides. And I was very puzzled trying to figure this one out. So eventually I get over there with their feed and water. And usually when I head their way, I usually start hollering, chicken, 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 hey, chickens. And because of that and because of the time of day, whether it's morning or late afternoon, they realize it's food time. So as I headed over there, I hollered, hey, chicken, chicken, chickens. And a lot of them came running towards me, which was a good sign. And so I decided to initially turn over one of the chicken tractors. And in that process, not without, I wasn't thinking about it, but I only did the one chicken tractor. I didn't turn over the other. Well, these things had, after the wind blew them over, then they blew like 20, 30 yards from where they had been. And so the one that was the furthest away, I just left it lay there for now. And I started putting food inside the tractor that I turned over. And, you know, of the, I don't know how many there are there, close to 30 chickens, let's say, almost probably close to half of them went into the chicken tractor to get food. A lot of the rest of them were right there where I had my bucket with the rest of the feed in. And they kept coming over and tried to eat. And as they would, I'd grab them and put them in the chicken tractor. And this continued on for a number of minutes. And it got down to where there was probably 8 or 9 of them yet that were out more on the loose, and they were out scavenging for food out in the grass, the areas. And so I then kind of went out to where some of those would be and put a feeder with food near them, and they'd come to eat. And I kept picking off a few here and there, putting them in the tractor. I got it down to where there was probably five loose, and I had noticed the one gray one, the not Houdini, but the other renegade chicken that would get loose a lot, how it was wandering way far away from everybody else. And I just took note of that and kind of took note of the direction it had gone. And I kept catching chickens, and I was down to, I'd sent a picture to Kendra and Hannah with the 2 chicken tractors blown over. And they had been trying to communicate with me, and I wasn't hearing or feeling my phone notify me that I was getting messages. And Hannah and the 2 kids, they were going to come over for supper at our place last night, and they were ready to leave, and they saw that I was having trouble, so they came over to help me catch chickens. So there was one chicken on the loose yet that we could see at that point. And so Odin was, well, when I first got there, Odin showed up pretty much right away, came from the sheep. He often does that if he hears me come, and he'll go with me to take care of the chickens, to do the chores with them. And he ended up, right from the beginning, as we were getting close to chickens, I said, no, Odin, do not go after those chickens, because I knew that if he started doing that, there's no way I'd be able to get any of them with food, because they would be panicked and they would run. They wouldn't care about food at that moment. And he listened to me very well. And then as I got down towards the end of catching chickens, he started helping by chasing them towards me, and sometimes just chasing them. But so when the grandkids got there, when Digory and Claire got there, Odin started chasing that last chicken, and eventually chased, I think it was Digory then that caught it. The chicken was getting tired and ran over. It got away from Digory, I think, one time after he kind of got a hold of it. And then I think the second time he got a hold of it and hung on to it. So we put that one in, the chicken tractor. And then I knew that there was one way back in the field. So we went looking for it. And all of a sudden we found it. And Odin went charging after it and ran towards the neighbors. And I said, no, Odin, we're not going to chase it there. So we went back. I finished, I ended up getting some rebars that I drove in the ground for that chicken tractor, just in case. There was a good amount of wind yet, but it wasn't near like it had been earlier in the afternoon, but I didn't want to take a chance overnight. So I drove rebar in the ground around on the four corners of that. And so then we were heading towards the sheep, to take care of the sheep. And I was busy. Hannah and the kids and Odin were kind of ahead of me, and I was trying to pick up all my loose ends of things I needed to take. The next thing I knew, Odin was chasing another chicken. And here, what had happened is, as they were going in the next field, Odin went, and he was like a rat terrier or a pointer. He was pointing in a clump of grass. And Hannah saw that, but she assumed it was probably a rat in there. We have rats running around through the field sometimes. And so she didn't make a big deal of it. And then eventually she said, okay, Odin, go get it. And here a chicken popped out. And so Odin's back to chasing chickens, and I was still near the chicken tractor. And eventually the chicken came around the corner, and Odin got it, caught it in his mouth, and then I got the chicken from Odin and put it away. So I was pretty sure we had all of them but one. So then, and I wish I'd had my video camera with me, although I had the phone camera, but I don't think of taking video with that. As being a professional videographer, video producer, I'm very into getting visuals, but in this case, because I don't have my regular kind of a video camera of any sort, I just don't think of it. I did take the one photo that I'll show you guys. I probably already have showed you, to see the chicken tractors were blown over. One of the theories I have is we've had a lot of strong winds since the chickens have been in those tractors. And yeah, it could have been just the wind was from just the right direction. The other thing that happened is, a couple days ago when it was warm and I didn't think we'd have a lot of really cold days left, I cleaned all the grass and the chicken waste in the nesting boxes. I had let that build up over the last couple months, and when I did clean them out in the past 2 months, I'd only take part of it off the top, instead of letting, close to 12 inches, because it was somewhat composting in there. And it was also, it holds heat. So I knew it'd be good to keep it there for a while, at least some of it, to help them with the heat, especially on really cold nights. So earlier this week, I cleaned them completely out. And that was a lot of weight. That stuff gets very weighty. It's the hay that I've hand harvested and raked, and it's somewhat dried, but it still is somewhat wet and somewhat green, and so there's a lot of weight there. And then all their waste goes in with that, and you know, not every day, but many days, I put another layer of green grass, the dried, somewhat dried out green grass on top. And so it didn't have that weight to help hold it down also. So anyhow, all of my eggs yesterday, except for the 2 I got on the morning chores, all of them were busted and broken. So I lost most of our eggs yesterday. So then this morning, I went ahead and put the 2 tractors back to back. Hannah had suggested, well, maybe, you know, typically you don't take two different flocks of birds, which these are because they're in 2 different tractors, and put them together because they will fight. And I didn't see much of that kind of stuff going on yesterday when I did it. And
hey, chicken, 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 chickens. Hey, chicken, 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 chickens. Hey, let's take you guys up here somewhere.
or this morning, I didn't really see them fighting, but I decided to put them back to back, leave it open, and maybe they would self-populate in their own tractors, which I'll find out when I go up this evening, later this afternoon. I'll find out if that happened. So that's what I did, and I put food and water on both sides, and we'll see. I don't know. I know that some of them were on different sides, obviously, because yeah, it was just, that's the way it was. Part of the reason I'd like them to self-populate is the one tractor had only pullets, and the other one had mostly 2-year-old chickens or more, and a rooster. And that particular group, I was wanting to hopefully get a broody hen out of that and hatch my own chicks over the next 6 months or so.
I got the gray one, yeah!
So that I could have new pullets, and so that I could also, any roosters would become meat birds for us. So anyhow, that's the story. That's the story of the wind crime scene with the chickens. So anyhow, hey, thanks for joining. Blessings. Have a great day. Bye.